Hello, everybody. Welcome to Up on Deck. I am Jake Brown. Joined with me, it's Jack Bartlett, and we have a special guest with us today, Alyssa Gomez. She is a Cronkite student, but also was an intern with MLB Pipeline over the summer. Alyssa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So, first question is for our viewing audience who doesn't know, what is MLB Pipeline?
So MLB Pipeline, it's a section of basically MLB.com, and it's all prospects in minor league baseball. So that's where you're gonna find your rankings, all your articles, all of your updates for your favorite team. That's you look up MLB.com/pipeline and it's all there.
All right. And tell us about your 9 to 5. What was interning at MLB Pipeline like?
I wish it was a 9 to 5 because I worked the night shift. So my 9 to 5 is more like a 5 to 1 a.m. or on a Sunday, a 4 to midnight. So yeah, occasionally, I think towards the beginning when I was training, I had some day shifts, but once I got in it wasn't a 9 to 5. It was a 5 to 1. So that was a little different. Definitely had to get my schedule used to that and getting everything done during the day and then working at night. It was very weird, very different. But basically I would log on and there's a group of people each night from the shift. Can range from like 4 people up to like 10-ish. Um, and then you get assignments. So basically everybody gets a couple teams to like monitor, and you're just monitoring the top prospects. And then you send, oh, Oscar Colas hit a 2-run home run or something, something like that. Um, and then you cut clips, and then afterwards, when the games are over, you'll do updates like short stories on each team has like a we called it standing stories, but everybody had like the prospect updates for what they did that day. It's the running one, and it usually has the date by it. So it'll be like not October, May 27th, so and so did this. So that, and then we have breakout stories, which are usually like the longer features. So that's usually what I did every day.
Dang, that the 5 to 1 sounds like hell. I
It's
I enjoy my
interesting.
sleep. Like once it hits like 9 o'clock for me, that's when I kind of just settle down for the night.
I'm the opposite. I'm definitely a night owl. I tend to do like random things at night. Like that's when I decide to do laundry or decide to clean my room or do something weird. So it felt a little bit more in line with like what I my normal schedule is. But from a working perspective, it was definitely weird. Sometimes I just like turn my brain off. It depends on how the day was going. So, but yeah, it's an interesting schedule. It's definitely a sports schedule. I'll put it like that.
Fair enough. Jack, what you got?
Alyssa, you brought up that you guys were assigned particular teams to like monitor. I was just wondering, on Up on Deck, we have, I guess, we're like correspondents for specific divisions. So like, I am responsible for taking care of the NL and the AL Central, just given where I grew up and the baseball I watched as a kid. I'm curious if there's any similarities to that with the MLB pipeline and the teams that you were supposed to monitor.
Sometimes it kind of depends on who's doing assignments and how many people were there that day. Because I was monitoring anywhere from like 4 to I think the most I had at one time was like 12 teams. So it kind of just varied, and a lot of times it was just random. You know, and then even when we're updating things, it might be somebody take the first half of the alphabetical teams, so like from Arizona to I don't know, like Kansas, something like that. And then have somebody else take the other half and then meet in the middle. A lot of times it's just random though.
And you mentioned that it varied. I imagine, is that just based off of how busy the baseball schedule is, or how crazy of a season it is at any particular week, or how does that work?
It just depends on how many people are on that day, and even if a lot of people are on, that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's doing pipeline stuff. I remember draft night and futures game week, that was the craziest week that there had been, just because half of us are watching the draft, half of us are still trying to pay attention to the games. We're all still talking about everything. So it just kind of depends on what's happening. But there's definitely been some crazy moments where it's like five of us, and all right, somebody hit a 2-run home run, there's a no-hitter, someone's about like a double away from a cycle, just a lot of things happening at once. So it's a lot of multitasking and a lot of like being on your toes and your feet, but it was still a lot of fun despite how stressful it could be sometimes.
Now, did when you're being told these things, is there like someone like a supervisor who is telling you like, oh, somebody's throwing a no-hitter or somebody has close to a cycle or 3 home runs in a day? Or did you have to pay attention to the games that you were for the teams that you were supposed to cover?
Whoever is assigned to whatever teams, they're the ones who has to alert everybody. We're on like a giant like group chat essentially. Um, so we had like a little night crew thing, and basically it's just blurting out whatever you see. Because you may be working on something different. Like if I'm writing a story or doing one of the standing stories, I'm not paying attention to the game because I'm on the phone or I'm just writing or whatever. I'm going through the editing process, things like that. So then that's when people have to juggle, and that's why you have like 10 different tabs open. And some people are actually watching some of the games. Like if it's any of the bigger games, like let's say it's Jack Fighter Start or something, somebody's watching that to see what's happening, instead of just looking at the stats and the numbers. Because there's anybody can access it. It's like the top 100 tracker or something like that. And then that'll update throughout the night. And you'll just see players pop up, and then you can look at their stat line and see what they did. So all the number ones, they would immediately go to the top. So once you saw somebody new, you just say it immediately, even if it's not your team sometimes, just depending on what everybody's doing.
All right, Jack, you got anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to go back. You talked about how with the MLB draft and futures game and the All-Star game all being kind of stacked on top of each other, that was kind of stressful. And I'm curious how how exciting but hectic and just overwhelming was that whole kind of few weeks dealing with everything, and also how was it just dealing with all of these things going on at once?
I mean, just I can kind of lump all of it together, and just the draft week and the futures game week, it was just a heightened version of that. The entire time, I mean, it's about multitasking. Uh, I mean, I've already kind of stated everything that we've had to do at once. And then that's even if everything is going right. We have softwares, and sometimes those softwares don't work. And, you're trying to not punch a hole through your laptop when something doesn't clip right. So it's a lot, and you feel that pressure sometimes. I know when I started, I was a mess. Like I had massive anxiety. That was more on me because I wanted to do good, because I finally had a shot at like part of my dream job. So that was a lot on me. And like the first couple weeks, I was a wreck. But once I got like settled, and of course it was towards the end, it was like halfway through, I finally felt settled and I had a rhythm. And there were things that I liked to do and things that weren't my favorite, but I would do. But like once I got comfortable with something, it kind of just felt like natural. I would just, be cutting clips like nothing. I would take all the clips if somebody didn't want to take it. So it took a lot to settle, but it's a lot, and you just have to know what you're looking for, and you get used to like looking in the specific columns. Like I knew how to look back and forth between the home run and the RBI column. I'm like, all right, let's see, let's do the math here. So you kind of like know the specifics and what you're red flagging in your mind.
Right. What kind of helped you get settled, and what were your favorite parts of your job that like
Oh,
for
for
covering minor league baseball?
both of them, it was the people I worked with. I mean, they were I it was a remote job. I was back home. I didn't go to the New York office. Again, those late hours, I don't think that would have been the wisest. Um, but yeah, I was at home, and even the people that I worked with, they were some of the most amazing people. Like, I don't think I could have asked for a better group. They were so nice. They answered all of my questions, and we just had like fun together, despite how stressful it can be. Now, granted, they've been doing this for years and years and years, so they're used to it. Um, but being they told me I was one of only 3 interns in pipeline history. So them willing to take me in like that and teach me everything and working with me, I don't think I could have asked for anything better. So they definitely would calm me down when I was panicking. Like when I had my first breakout story, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like it was just a no hitter. And like that seems simple enough, but when you have like maybe 10 minutes to come up with questions and talking to the media relations person and trying to get together with them. It's a lot. And I was panicking, but a lot of them were able to like bring me down and like, you know what you're doing, you're fine. So they helped me get into that kind of wave. And then once we all like I had different relationships with different types of people, like 2 of us would be the cutters, one of us would joke around with the other, things like that. You built this kind of workplace relationships and it felt like I was actually there. So I think for both of them, the people that I worked with, they were the best. I missed them the most once I left.
That's awesome. It's great to have a good workplace environment, especially if you're an intern. Jack, you got anything?
Yeah, you brought up the point that you were the third intern for the MLB Pipeline. I'm curious, how did you feel when you were told that, and who told you that?
They didn't tell me that to my last day. I had a goodbye party, basically. Like we all got on a Zoom call at 1 o'clock in the morning, my time, which is really nice. So I think that's kind of what told me that they really did care about me and like wanted to see me do good things because I mean, they're on the East Coast. So it was like already 2, 3 o'clock for them. And yet they still hopped on. And then they told me that. And I was like, this is for real. Even the way that this job happened, it felt kind of like a whirlwind. Like, I was in a holding pattern, which is MLB for like 4 months. Then all of a sudden I get an email, hey, we have a position open. Are you interested? So that was everything was a whirlwind. So once they told me that, and one of my bosses, she told me that the main one, he was gonna hire me no matter what, even if she said no, because he wanted me. So that was a lot, but it meant a lot to me, especially looking back on it now, because I think it served as a big jumping off point in terms of what I do now, what I want to do, and just my confidence in what I'm doing. So yeah.
That's awesome. You mentioned earlier about about talking with players, and I don't want to go, you don't have to go too in depth about this, but who are some of your favorite players to talk to?
Oh, Jordan Walker is one of the nicest human beings to exist on this planet. He's a sweet guy, even in fall league. Like I've seen him a couple times, and he signs for everyone. Like he'll get you no matter what. So I would say Jordan Walker, and then the one that meant the most to me was talking to Hunter Brown for the Astros because that was my team. So they let me do that. So then I would get a byline on Astros.com. So that was like the big full circle moment for me. I ugly cried. I'm gonna be full. It was bad. It was like worse than Kim Card. It was bad. It it was yeah. But that was like a real this is why I do this type of moment. So Hunter Brown and talking about him just now he's a World Series champion. So talking to him, and that was the day that Forrest Whitley came back to like the second time. So talking to him about that and just what he does and everything like that and being able to do something like that for me and them allowing me to do something like that showed that they had a lot of trust in me. So I think that was one of the ones that meant the most.
All right, and congratulations on your Astros winning the World Series this year.
It's
Jack,
stressful.
No kidding. That was a no hitter. The no hitter was like what I
I
think
had to
that is.
I had to mute it. I had to mute it and like minimize it because I'm like pacing around the room. I'm like, I can't. I couldn't do it at all.
Jack, what you got?
Um, the thing about Jordan Walker, that's really cool. I'm, from Kansas City. Uh, I've watched a bunch of Cardinals games my whole life. So that's just like I guess a really cool thing to hear about Jordan Walker from somebody who's actually met him because I've heard all of this stuff about him. Um, but going off of that point, I'm curious, like, what was it like just being around minor league baseball for a whole summer?
It's I don't think there's anything else in sports that would feel like that because it's so much. It's 100 plus teams because everybody's got at least four, maybe even five if you count ACL and FCL. So it's just a lot. And it feels like you're in a whirlwind sometimes, but in the best way possible. And then I liked minor league baseball before. I wouldn't pay too much attention to it because, when you're just watching as a fan, it's just majors, 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 draft, futures game, majors, majors, majors. But this felt like I was in a whole new world and it got me excited for the future. And I think, especially with like going into the major leagues, if you don't look at this rookie class and think that this was one of the best rookie classes there's been in a long time and get excited about that, then you're not even ready for what's about to come because these guys, some of them are absolutely insane. I mean, I couldn't shut up about Ellie De La Cruz for like 2 weeks. So he like some of these guys are just absolute monsters in the best way. So I think being around that just got me excited for baseball and what the future looks like, which sometimes when you think about the future of baseball, doesn't always seem the best just because of different circumstances and all these different things and rules and changes and whatnot. But things like the rookie class and paying attention to some of these, not even the top guys, like you can go down to like mid, because I think I want to say like Luis Camposano was like seventh or eighth before re-ranks, and he was going on a tear and things like that. So when you look at these guys, you look at the future, what it could be, and it's a lot of fun. So I think that was the main thing I took away was just there's a lot to look forward to when it comes to the future of baseball.
All right, we're on short on time. We have a little less than 5 minutes. Our last question that we always ask our guests is, and you kind of touched on it in your answer in the previous question, what makes minor leagues so special?
It just has a different feel. I don't even know how I would compare it to Major League Baseball. It's just something about it that feels fresh. And like it still has some of those old, like, good old traditionalist baseball values in it. As someone who was more of a traditional baseball person fan, I didn't know how I was going to feel with like some of the new rules in there. But honestly, I didn't even notice. And I think it's because the guys in there carry it and they make it feel special and magical and everything like that. So I think it's a breath of fresh air compared to some of the starkness that we see in Major League Baseball sometimes.
All right, we still have plenty of time, got about 3.5 minutes. Um, Another question we like to ask, because we're big food guys. Of course, you weren't working in the New York offices, but what was your favorite? We're big food guys. What was your go-to snack when you were working with minor league baseball?
Oh, so many coffees. It's not even actual food. I would make coffee at like 10 o'clock at night because I'm like, all right, I got 3 more hours left. Let's pile through. Trying to eat dinner while doing this, impossible. Because I'm like, all right, time to cut into this pork chop or whatever. Oh, I gotta cut 5 things and start texting this person and yada yada yada. So definitely a lot of like grabbable snacks like almonds or just quick things because eating was a challenge. Eating was definitely a challenge because you just kind of get locked in for different points. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we're running out of time here until their Zoom is going to kick us out for going too long. Alyssa, thank you for waking up so early and talking with us.
No, no problem.
Same with you, Jack, getting you out of bed really early, and of course me getting out of bed really early. Thank you for joining us. We will hope to have you back sometime next semester because we're 4 weeks out.
Yeah, who knows where I'll be at that point. Maybe I can give you a different look into something. We'll see.
Sure thing. From Jake Brown and Jack Bartlett, because Jeffrey is he's working really hard. He was at the fall start game yesterday. We will see you guys not next week because it's Thanksgiving, but the final week of live in studio episodes. So thank you so much. Thank you, Alyssa, and we will see you guys next time.